I'm Dr. Amber Wright, and this is Say More, a podcast for accomplished women who want more honesty in the way they live, love, and lead. This is a space for us to explore the questions that shape our lives and deepen our connections with ourselves and each other. If you're finally ready to reclaim the parts of yourself you've given away to everything and everyone else, you're in the right place. It's time to choose yourself. It's time to say more. Welcome back. Here we are yet again. I'm so glad that you are hanging out with me and giving me a little bit of your day to just let me ramble on in your ear about things that I hope will inspire you to make some really positive changes in your life. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, this episode might make you a little uncomfortable, okay? But it's all right. And I'm not sorry about it because you're not here to stay in your comfort zone. You're listening to this podcast because you're ready to grow. And I'm here as your growth guide on your journey to becoming who you desire to be. You're already amazing just as you are. But if you're ready to level up, then you're in the right place. So what we're going to talk about today are the questions that you are avoiding. And, here's what I mean by that. You and I know there is a question that is sitting in the back of your mind that you keep pushing away, shutting it down, shoving it down. And maybe it's about your relationship, your career, or who you're becoming. But no matter how hard you try to distract yourself, it's still there. All the meetings and activities and obligations that you fill your schedule with, they do not keep this question from taunting you. And we need to talk about it, okay, friend? So let's go. Let's get into it. Take a deep breath because we have a lot to cover, but it's going to be good. All right. So here's why I think this is happening. We avoid certain questions because we already know the answer. You already know what the answer is. But facing that truth or knowing whatever that answer is will require you to take action that you may not be ready to take. So the type of question that I'm talking about is something like, am I happy in this relationship? Is this career still right for me? Like, why doesn't this feel like it fits anymore? I don't want to be here anymore, but I don't know what to do. These are some really important questions. And I personally believe that questions shape our lives and relationships. The whole premise of my work is built around this idea that, yes, communication impacts or influences the quality of your life, but even more than that, you've got to be asking the right questions because the right questions are worth the ask. Because on the other side of it, there's going to be some type of shift that might be hard to confront initially, but it will move you closer to where you are supposed to be. And the longer you take to answer that question, the harder things can get. But we stay busy. We stay distracted. Like I said, we numb ourselves down from having to do the work of sitting with ourselves and sitting with this question that is like rattling us on the inside. But boo, as you already know, avoidance doesn't make it go away. It just, again, delays the inevitable in some cases. So we avoid these questions because, we think, oh my God, it's going to blow up my life, or who will I be on the other side? Will people still love me if I say this truth or whatever it is? And I know it's hard. So I'm calling that out because I know I'm very acquainted with the discomfort of this experience, but not asking. It's not the protection that you think it is. It really isn't. For me, one of the questions that plagued me for years was whether or not I was happy in my marriage and did I want to stay or go. And I've talked about this before online. I talk about it a lot in my work, actually, because everybody's got their something, and I'm not ashamed of my something. And my something was I wasn't sure. And let me tell you something, baby, that thing haunted me like the ghost of Christmas past. Okay, I avoided it and was ducking cranes in the sky like Solange said. Okay, like I really struggled for years to sit with the truth because I already knew the answer. And the answer was no, I wasn't. I wasn't happy, but I was so terrified of admitting that and saying it out loud because I felt like my whole life that I had worked so diligently to build was going to unravel. And I didn't know what it was going to say about me and about him and about our life together. How was that going to impact our kids? Ooh, y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I've been married for a long time. Yeah, we're talking 20 years, okay? So there was a cost to me of avoiding that question and sitting with the truth of it. And I wasn't sleeping well. I'm chewing through my night guard. Like stress was really showing up for me in a lot of ways because I was avoiding the truth. And that's what happens when you don't ask the hard questions. You don't stay neutral. You stay stuck. You stay in this place of limbo, particularly when it comes to a situation like mine, whether to stay or go. And for you, it might be, should I stay or leave this job? What if I want to change careers? What are people going to say about me? What are they going to think if I'm no longer attached to this prestigious title or whatever that I've been doing or this career that has made me a high earner and all of this? But again, avoidance costs you time. It costs you your energy. It costs you your peace and your authenticity because now you are suffering under the delay of making this choice. And you then begin to perform and doing what you think, again, you're supposed to do or what you have just told yourself that you should be doing because to live in your truth would feel so inflammatory to your whole life. Say you're somebody that was in limbo about their partnership the way that I was. I read a book. It was a little guide, an ebook, if you will. And the woman said that she was talking specifically about marriage and whether or not to stay or go. She said, you're not asking the right question. The question shouldn't be, should I stay or should I go? The question has to be, do I want to get out of limbo? I wish I could recall her name, the author of this book. It's escaping me at the moment. But anyway, she said, I just want you to know that I didn't do this originally, and I'm kind of talking about this on the fly here. But anyway, she said, the question can't be, should I stay or should I go? The question is, do you want to get out of limbo? Because if you want to get out of limbo, then you are compelled to make a choice. You must decide. And she goes on and gives guidance about how to make that decision. But that was very helpful to me because I did want to get out of limbo. I was stuck in that cycle. Should I stay? I don't know. Should I go? I don't know. What is going to happen? And then again, you catastrophizing and then you're future planning for a future that hasn't even happened yet, for a future you can't even control, you can't even predict, all the while stalling everybody's progress, their joy, and their peace. So I had to sit with that. I had to think about it and I had to make a decision. And when I did, it catapulted us into a whole new dimension of hard conversations that we had to have, but they were necessary. They were necessary for our life together to be transformed. And what do you know? The sky didn't fall. Okay, maybe it did a little bit. It was some hard days and some long nights and a lot of tears, but we were able then to move out of a place of honesty and not pretending because it's costly, y'all. Again, you sacrifice your growth and your clarity by convincing yourself that you're not sure when you know that you are, but you just don't want to admit it because you're afraid of what admitting will do. You know, that's going to mean something different to everybody. And please be clear. Let me add the disclaimer. I am not telling you to blow up your life. I'm not telling you to leave your man, your wife, your job. I'm not here to tell you what to do as your coach. I am here to guide you toward the answer that is already inside you. And I just want you to know that if you find yourself in this type of setting or scenario, you're not alone. Many of us struggle with these big questions and we just try to pretend like they're not there. But you know what it's costing you because not asking is still a choice and it has consequences. That's something else the lady said in the book. She was like, people act like divorce is this big D decision when it's a bunch of little tiny D decisions that you make along the journey. So the more you tell yourself, well, oh, if I leave, it's going to hurt him. It's going to kill him. It's like, well, baby, the longer you pretend and the longer you stall, it's just going to be worse. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. So what I want you to think about is defining and deciding what bravery means to you and what courage means to you. Does that mean that you ask the question anyway, even when you're scared? Does it mean maybe you work it out with a professional first? You sit down and you talk to somebody. You go see a therapist, or you go and talk to your good girlfriend who gives you sound advice or who knows how to be a listening ear, and tell her what you're thinking. I have had so many friends over the years who have been able to stand in the dark with me and my husband too, as we've been on this journey. And mind you, there have been other questions that have plagued me in my life, whether or not to go no contact with my mom, for example. In my young adulthood, she didn't come to my wedding because it was just a lot of difficult moments leading up to the wedding between she and I. We had already been estranged for a couple of years beforehand, and I really extended myself to open the door to her, and it just didn't work out, and she didn't come. I had to disinvite her because she wouldn't make a commitment to RSVP 2 weeks before. So long story there. But in my young adulthood, that was a question that was plaguing me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what does choosing myself look like in this moment in time? I want to share this scenario and this experience with her, but I feel like she's making it hard for me to do that. And what do I do? So there have been plenty of other questions that have plagued my life, but the one about the marriage has been, top 3. Okay. So going inward and creating that space to sit with yourself without rushing to fix it or to know what the answer and the plan is going to be, but just knowing how to sit in the underneath the weight of your truth, that can be your path forward. Sometimes you need to live with the question before the answer comes clear, but having the courage to ask it out loud to yourself and sit with the answer, that's what I'm talking about. That's that act of courage that can help unveil the life that you're meant to live if the life that you have now is not the one that you want. Some things to take with you are to name the question. Just like, what is really plaguing me? Like, what is my issue really? Because bringing it to the light reduces its power over you. I call it move the boogeyman out from underneath the bed. And one night, he and I had a long discussion about divorce and what that would mean. And I'm like, if we're so afraid to say that word, it has all this power over us because we're too afraid to just say it. But we got to take the boogeyman from out underneath the bed. And that night was probably top 5 hardest conversation I've ever had in my marriage. But we needed to have it. We needed to have it. So name the question. Again, don't rush for the answer. Just sit with it. It will come to you in terms of thinking about, well, what do I do now once I know what my truth is? The question might be scary, but living a facade, living inauthentically, keeping that job, staying in that city, carrying all this responsibility and obligation to everybody in your family, being the go-to for everything and everyone, being the ATM for everything and everyone. Everybody got their hand out. Everybody needs something from you. Again, this is not always just about our interpersonal or romantic relationship dynamics, but there's so many ways in which that there's a question that's, sitting beneath the surface, that the longer you take to ask it, the question is scary, but living that way is scarier. And for how long? How long? Another deep breath there. Really take a good couple of deep breaths if what I'm saying is ringing a bell for you. And before I go, just recapping this idea that even if your knees are shaking and your voice is shaking and you're just not sure, you only get one shot at this life. And you get to decide what that looks like. It's like taking puzzle pieces out of a box. When I'm working with my coaching clients, I tell them we're starting to puzzle. When you have a puzzle, you take the photo on the cover of the box so you know what you're working toward, but you have to have a process. You start with your edge pieces, you build it from there, You pull those out of the box. This is how I put together a puzzle. I don't know about you, but we put together this frame and we start with these edge pieces, and then we start taking our time to group things together by color or whatever. And that's the same or similar process by which you build your life. And the picture can be beautiful. And putting together a puzzle can take time. It takes critical thinking. It takes you needing to slow down. But all of that is the impetus, or all of that is on the other side of sitting with that question that you know is down deep in your belly, okay? You've heard me say before, pay attention before the whisper becomes a roar. Take your time. And when you're ready, you'll know. When you're ready, you will know. Oprah said, I heard once, that if you don't know what to do, don't do anything. Sit still, get in the silence, and let the answer come to you. But none of that can happen if you're not willing to raise that question from out beneath the bed and take out the boogeyman and say, okay, what do I do now? And she says, when you have decided, if you feel relieved, you know you made the right choice. Love you, mean it. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Say More. If this episode hit home for you, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another one. And don't forget to share it with your group chat so all of y'all can level up together. If you want personalized support about today's topic, visit wordswellsaid.com to learn more about how to work with me for coaching or how you can book me to speak at your job, conference, or event. In the meantime, keep in touch with me online at Dr. Amber Wright. And until you hear from me again, remember to use your words and then go forth and be awesome.